Hello and welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Wildstorm Addiction Podcast. This is episode number 3 for the weeks of April 28th and May 5th. And this week we have a ton of stuff to go over, so we're just going to get right into it. But beforehand, Joe has a little announcement.
First of all, thanks again to everybody who's been downloading our podcast. We have gotten some really good numbers for a brand new podcast, and we really do appreciate everybody's support. So keep spreading the word. And just to let you know, we haven't really mentioned this at the beginning of each of our other podcasts, but we do want to let you know that we do talk about spoilers on here. And the reason we decided to do that is for 2 reasons. One, usually by the time this is posted, some of the comics we're covering are either a week old or 2 weeks old. So we figure, hey, might as well just talk about everything. And 2, if we really want to have a good discussion about it, it's kind of hard to be saying, well, so this character and that character, and not mention any names. It's really hard to have a good discussion like that. So, we just want to let you know that ahead of time, and that's why we do try to do timestamps in the show notes, so that way if there's an issue you don't want to hear us talk about, feel free to skip ahead and then come back later and listen to it. So just want to let everybody know that.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Well, we're going to kick it off this week with Wildcats, number 22. I don't know what to say. I mean, this issue was awesome from beginning to end. I mean, I guess it was a slower issue because it was a setup issue with Spartan talking to everybody on the carrier, or not the carrier, Skywatch, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention. The writer cat is Adam Beechin, and the pencil cat is Tim Seeley. We've never really talked about this, but the titles that they do for Wildcats, and it's been for the last couple, I would say 4 months or so, they, instead of putting, writer, penciler, inker, etc., they add cat to the end of all of them, which is kind of funny. But, I mean, I guess it's kind of cool because, they all want to be a wildcat. So, anyways, sidebar.
Yeah, well, they're having fun with
it. So, getting into it, this issue really is a setup issue, and it's Spartan bringing all of the superheroes that are left over from World's End and kind of getting them all together to discuss what they're going to do from here on out, how they're going to start to actually put some structure back into the world without a heavy hand like the Authority once did whenever they started things out. We see these awesome spreads by Tim Seeley, all labeled, and we see characters that we haven't seen in eons, really, and some are very obscure, some are really popular characters that we haven't seen in a long time. Just really cool panels. There's inside jokes from Team 7 here and there. There's an awesome, not a battle, but a battle of words and wits to say with Zealot and Midnighter. That sparked up quite a conversation on the boards this week. There was a really odd decision by Maul to kind of go Zealot's way and kind of walk away from the whole thing. She didn't really seem to like Spartan's ideas about where things should go from here. Her attitude was more like the Authorities when they took over the United States, and she really wants to just, do things and put the world back to where it was. Whereas, Spartan's kind of being like, hey, we did this as superhumans, we did this to the world, essentially. And they're trying to, put the world back together with some thought behind it. Him being, a synthetic being. It's interesting.
Half a synthetic being now.
Yeah, right, because he's floating on this pod. He lost his legs, but apparently has all of his other, wits. He really, he's running the show in this issue, and kind of, I wouldn't say he's setting up teams, but he is in a way grouping people together to do certain tasks. He sends a battalion out, and Winter has has some good thoughts about that. He's, with Voodoo, they're still trying to find the true doctor. He sends Battalion out with Ladytron. That's good. That's a great combination right there.
Yeah, definitely an odd couple.
Yeah, right. And then we get a little bit of the mystery of what happened to Majestic, and we get to see Nemesis, which, we all thought was dead. So that was a pretty big revelation there. No pun intended. Actually, that was totally intended. The other big reveal at the end of this issue is Spartan picking Grunge as his second in command, basically. And even he is like, what are you doing, dude? I'm like dumb as a brick, and you're choosing me to do all this work? I mean, he's not dumb as a brick, but you know what I mean. He's never been written as the smartest person in the world, even though he is intelligent. And it's just interesting to see Spartan, not fathering him, but being like, hey, this is your time to step up and actually become an adult and, do something to help out in a serious manner. I just thought that was an interesting scene. And you see how much he takes it to heart, and that he realizes that his role is, really going to change. Overall, I really thought it was a great issue. It's a good starting off point for people that haven't read Wildcats. I realize it wasn't an action-packed issue, but for somebody that's been following it for a long, long time, this is really cool to see where this is going to go from here. You have anything you'd like to add to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of the things, like Ben said, it really is, I talked about it in my review on the site. It's the explanation scene. George Lucas talks about that from his Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where basically Indy's talking about, is laying it out on the chalkboard, this is the arc and this is what we're doing, and that's exactly what's going on here. This is the explanation issue, and which was needed because, you had 3 issues of an all-out, Michael Bay movie, and, even in Michael Bay movies, we need time to slow down and catch our breath and see what's going on, and that's exactly what they're doing here. Like you said, there are, a ton of characters. It's like you almost wish this was Wikipedia and you could just click on each name, because they do put a name near each character, which is very helpful.
Yeah, it needs to go to the resource wiki. That's
right. But yeah, a couple of the things like what you mentioned, like about Nemesis. The thing about her coming back, we've got a cover by Walt Simonson, by the way, which the other half was in Authority number 21, and they're really cool. But Wildstorm's gone with this, theme of all the covers this year basically connect to 2 titles, and they're done, by some big name artists, but they're basically just, team shots, and everybody who's accounted for has been there since the first issue in January. So Nemesis has been on every cover. And so that's the one thing that I felt was kind of lost with her reveal. It's like we kind of already knew that was her because she's been on the cover, and I think she was even shown, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the Authority issues, like in the crowd. So that was kind of like, that was one of my things with these covers, that they give too much away.
Well, I think somebody said don't read too much into them, so I kind of ignored that. But, I feel like we've been running into a lot of setup issues lately, because of writer changeovers and just where the arcs have landed. But with this one, I ain't mad at it, you know what I mean? Like, it was a really good setup issue.
Yeah.
It read quickly, and I was like, wow, that was awesome. I can't wait to read the next one.
Yeah.
And sometimes setup issues are really, really boring. But this one...
Yeah.
Flat out. I gave it a 9. I was excited to read the next one.
Oh, wow.
This was cool.
Yeah. No, you're right. It was really good for basically a talking issue. There is no action at all. But like you said, some of it's the battle of the words. One other interesting thing to note, too, is that in that big shot with all the heroes, we see one of the new heroes who people have been asking who this is. There's a character on here named Aeons, or Eons. I'm not sure how they were going to pronounce that, but he's another one that's been on all the covers, and nobody knows who he is. There's been a lot of speculation, but but it's just kind of like a tease, and I'm real curious to see who that is, if it's a new character, if it's an old character, for whatever reason, obviously hiding his identity. It'd be cool to see what's going to happen there. So
Right.
anyway, yeah, I gave it an 8 just because, I don't know. I mean, it was good. I guess because I respected it for what it was,
Yeah, right.
so, but anyway, yeah, I gave it an 8, which is still on its way to greatness, and I don't think I've given this title anything lower since Tim Seeley and Anna Beechin took it over. So anyway, good issue, and it's not too far to backtrack to the previous 3 issues if anybody wants to catch on what's going on. But yeah, this is a nice quiet issue if you haven't been reading.
Right.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to our next title, which is The Authority, The Lost Year number 8, where the story is by Grant Morrison, Keith Giffen, and I'm not sure how to say this last name, but J.M. DeMatteis, with art by David Williams, and the cover is by Gene Ha. And I really, the thing about some of these creator names, I feel so bad because I don't really have a way to find out how to say them. And and I'm going to have to say his name a lot. And so I apologize for butchering your name during this interview, because DeMatteis is a big name in comics. He wrote the Justice League title in the 80s, which is what the cover that Gene Ha does here is an homage to. Best way I can sum it up, it's the run with the famous scene of Batman punching Guy Gardner, knocking him down. That's like the famous scene from that run that everybody talks about because it's referenced later. So that's the run that DeMatteis did, and it was. And I read some of it. I mean, so I kind of got his style, and what he was doing is like that was the time when the JLA was like the big guns were gone, and Batman was pretty much the only big gun there that I remember. It was all the second stringers coming in helping. And it was kind of, I want to say tongue-in-cheek, but that's important to note because that's exactly what they're doing here in Lost Year number 8. The Authority have been traveling through the bleed during this series. This series obviously takes place before World's End. So, we're falling into different worlds, which is not a new concept for the Authority. We've also run into alternate versions of themselves, which is also not a new concept for the Authority. But this time around, they run into a alternate version of themselves on an Earth where the Authority is treated more like traditional superheroes, I guess you could say. The interaction between like Midnighter and Apollo, for example, first of all, the whole thing about whether or not they're gay is kind of left ambiguous. Which, yeah, I'm sure there's a play on that too.
Right.
But that's like the joke. In fact, it's like reading a sitcom about the Authority. Okay, that's the best way I can describe it. It's like Apollo and Midnight are like the odd couple in this world,
Mm-hmm.
and Midnighter is always trying to come up with some sort of scheme to make money. And in this particular issue, he has the rest of their team has gone off to fight some supervillain, and they didn't come back. So instead of going to help him, he decides, well, the carrier's free. Let me rent it out as condo space. So it's like, what? Obviously, what they're doing here is they're trying to go for that kind of comedic appeal that DeMatteis did with Justice League. And the thing is, in reading this issue, I got what they were doing, but I just didn't find it that funny, And there were some moments in here that should have been really funny. Like you'll see on the site, the image I chose from this issue was hard to find a good one that I really wanted to show, because there was not really much anything to spoil. But I think the image that personified what they were trying to do here is an image of the Wildstorm Earth Jack Hawksmoor punching the alternate Earth Jack Hawksmoor in the crotch. Because, just go to the site, look up my review, and you'll see it. It's a great image. But like I said, I think this is one of those what I liken it to. It's like I said, DeMatteis is a a good writer, and I knew that this is what they were going to do. I knew this is kind of what they were going to shoot for. But it's kind of like going to watch a movie with a really popular comedian, and then for whatever reason, the movie just kind of falls flat. And I don't know, like I said, about this issue, that it just wasn't that funny. And I knew that's exactly what they were going for. On the flip side of that, though, artist David Williams, I thought his art was really good for what they were doing here, especially with his facial expressions. Because he had a lot of stuff in here where, it was just kind of goofy expressions based on what was going on. And so that, to me, they succeeded in the visuals in getting the comedy across. But I don't know what it was about the actual dialogue and the situations, and I just didn't enjoy it as much as I would have liked to.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we're on the same boat with this. I'm not gonna beat it to death. I mean, like you said, I didn't enjoy reading it as well. Actually, I struggled to get through it. This may sound crazy, but I actually only gave it a 2. I had a hard time getting through it. I mean, not to say anything against the writers or the artists. I mean, the art, to me, I think it was a good pick for what the issue was trying to do, but it didn't ring any bells with me. I don't have much to say. I mean, the whole series, I get what they're doing. It's very serialized. It's what's going on this week? Where are they? What are they going to run into? And that's cool. But this week didn't work for me. So hopefully it'll go somewhere else.
Well, we have another issue that'll close up this arc, and I think I ended up giving it a 6, which is just above average, and I think I don't know, I didn't want to be too harsh with it, but
hey, we gotta let our audience know that not everything Wildstorm puts out is great. So sorry, this one didn't work with me.
Yeah. Well, see, that just, that lets us keep our credibility, because they don't think that we're just a bunch of fanboys. But I know I've been accused of that. But I think this series is just frustrating, is what it is. It's because there was so much bad blood with this series to begin with Grant Morrison leaving it. So you already came into it with that, and he had a really good setup, I thought. And then since then, it's had some good ideas, but some of the executions, or maybe it's not the executions. I'll tell you one thing that I don't appreciate about this series is that the arcs are only like two issues. Like here at the end, we're getting down to 2-issue arcs. At the beginning, we had, I think, a 4 or a 3.
Yeah.
And then down to 3, and then these last couple were 2, which the last arc was a really great setup, and they just did away with it in 2 issues, and it's like, why would you even, it's like teasing us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we're a little spoiled because, we're used to 6-issue creator-owned arcs, and, we're used to at least 4-issue arcs on regular, Wildstorm Universe series. So, I mean, if they really wanted to do, the serialized stuff where it's something new each issue, that's great. But, like, from the outset, it should have been, kind of planned as that. And right now, it seems like, you're right, they're shortening every single one. So it seems, like it wasn't well planned.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like we just finished talking about Wildcats. Seeley and Beechin came in and said they're going to do 3-issue arcs and then, keep going from there so people can jump on. So I don't have a problem with those shorter arcs, because that 3-issue arc they did was great in Wildcats, but it's just not working here. If they want to do 1 issue at a time, great. I kind of miss those issues that are just 1. But other than that, this is kind of that weird, there's a weird spot in between that. The 2-issue thing just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I said, I'm going to follow it to the end. It's only got 4 issues left, but there's really not much to this series, honestly. I mean, we already know where the Authority goes from here because we've been following them in World's End.
Right. All right, moving on. We have a new creator-owned series called Garrison, and it's by Jeff Mariotti and Francisco Francavilla does the art and the cover. This whole series, I think people are excited for this. I hope people are. I think, like I said, I feel like we've been running into a lot of setup issues. And this one is. However, there's a lot of mystery in this one. And even on the cover, there's a question mark on the guy's face. Who is Garrison? So this issue is about, I guess, this mysterious guy who is a serial killer. They call him a serial killer. I guess he is because he kills a lot of guys. But this is set in a world where it's almost like Minority Report. There is a lot of surveillance. They can see this guy, but they can't find him, which I guess is the reason why he's interesting and the reason why they need to nail him. He's not necessarily killing people for just kicks. It seems to be that, he has a moral code about him and he's killing people that are, I guess, bad-natured. I don't know how else best to put it. They're not necessarily horrible people, and it's not things that he's doing just out of the blue. There is a point where he has a chance to kill somebody and he doesn't. So he's not, just a slasher. There's something going on with him that we don't know yet. Like I said, there's a lot of mystery behind him. We do meet some. They're not FBI, but they're an agency. I'll just call them that. Just National Bureau of Surveillance. They call it the NBS. So, like I said, there's a lot of surveillance. Like, not fancy like Minority Reports, but it's just there.
More real world.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like what they're doing in some cities where they're putting up a lot of surveillance. So it's not everywhere, but in this, it is. So we meet, what is her freaking name? Sorry. Jillian, jeez. I'm trying to find her last name because...
Is that her name for real?
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I was about to say it's Scully.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's not Scully, it's Gillian Anderson who plays Scully.
Right. You do get that vibe in the first, 10 pages of this whenever, she's out with another agent and, they actually run into Garrison and he immediately kills the agent that is with her without even explaining himself, other than to say after he does it, he was going to kill you anyway, which is interesting because we know nothing about this guy and he just walks up to them, shoots him, and walks off, basically. Very little interaction with her, no explanation why he does this, and I guess technically saves her life. Very mysterious. After those first 10 pages, which are really cool, well thought out, very well drawn, it slows down. It really does. I mean, there's a little bit, it really goes into her life immediately after trying to wrap her head around what just happened to her, the agent that she was hanging out with. They're not partners per se, but there was a romance there, and, he just comes up and blows his head off. So she is trying to get her life back together the few days after that happened, and it slows down big time.
You know what the pace really reminds me of is kind of like a TV show, because I wanted to say, and I might have even said it in my review, I wanted to say a movie, but the more that I'm looking back at it, I would say no, more TV show. And the reason I say that is mainly because TV shows are usually subject to their budgets, and we get this, basically big explosion at the beginning, and, we get a lot of footage of him doing his thing, and like you said, it slows down and shows shows more of her and shows a little bit of him at the end, but that's what I would liken it to. It's almost like the pace of a TV show. It's like, okay, they got a budget and this is as much as they can show us, but they're trying to show us as much as they can without, blowing their budget. So
No, you're right. That's exactly what it's like. The first half is dedicated to these big, huge, sweeping explosion, really fast-paced action, and then the next, 10 or I guess 8 or 9 are, her kind of winding down from that, and we're getting a little bit of background on who she is and what this agency is kind of doing to find out about Garrison. And then right at the end it picks up the pace again and we go back to him and where he is now and what's going on, and it's fast-paced action again, and then you're kind of left with a cliffhanger. So you're right, it is set up very much like a TV show. Dead on. Good call. I thought it was above average. I gave it a 6. I'd like to see where it goes from here. It gives the readers something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be my favorite series, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that I saw, I gave it a 7, which is slightly above average, just because, like you said, it's a good setup issue, and it kind of introduces to the characters, and unlike Sparta, I don't feel like my head's hurting from trying to figure out what's going on.
That's true. That's true. This is a much simpler read. I mean, yes, there's mystery involved, but it's very basic. Who is this person? Why is he doing this? That's easy to understand.
Yeah, I'd liken to what he's doing. It seems more like vigilante style stuff. Now, obviously, they're going to call him a serial killer, But,
right.
The kind of people he's going after, even the guy at the end who I think you were talking about, is not necessarily evil. It's just a douche on the street, basically.
Yeah. You're right. And I think that is where it's going. I mean, what he is doing seems to be vigilante, but, we see this death toll that he's, strewn across their area. So, yeah, you're right. They call him a serial killer.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that pans out in the future. That's probably where it's going. So,
yeah.
Like I said, there's mystery in this, but it seems, generic's too harsh of a word, but like, we only have 6 issues. Unless they drop something big, you kind of know where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, we'll see where it goes next issue. I mean, we'll see. Jeff Mariotti's, I remember his stuff from back in the old Wildstorm stuff. He's done a lot of stuff for Wildstorm, for the Wildstorm U. So he's got some interesting ideas. So I'm willing to see where he's going to take this. So.
Me too.
Okay. Speaking of Wildstorm U books, let's move on to another good one that came out, which is the Authority number 22. So get the Lost Year out of your head for a while. And this is the the World's End title. And I don't think, I haven't heard anybody out there that's confused by that, because it's pretty obvious, the two. And the ironic thing is, a lot of people cried foul the whole time during World's End that that wasn't their authority, and now that they've switched the teams, it really is not their authority,
Right.
But yet we have the Lost Year out there, and people are not following it, or it doesn't seem to be doing very well. So,
well, sidebar, I don't know how people could get that confused. I mean, my God, how many different varieties of X-Men do we have, etc.? Like, please, there's 2 authorities to pick up. You can't mistake the 2. It's not a big deal. Like,
yeah. No, well, that's why I said I haven't heard anybody say it, and I would hate to think that anybody would get confused. But if you go from alternate reality where Jack Hawksmore's punching somebody in the crotch, and then you pick up this one, and all of a sudden it's Flint and Grifter and Deathblow, fighting vampires, you're like, whoa, what happened? So,
right.
The Authority number 22 is written by Tom Taylor. This is his first issue of the Authority, coming on after the last creative team left, and he's bringing artist Mike Miller with him. And the cover is by Pete Woods, and the other half of that cover will be on Wildcats number 23. And this, the strength of this series, I mean, first of all, we talked about how, we missed we were going to miss the old creative team, obviously, because they were doing so good with the first 4 issues of this run.
Right.
So, this was writer Tom Taylor's, chance to come on and show what he could do. And I think he did a great initial issue here with his Authority run. He, since the last creative team left us with a cliffhanger, it allowed Tom Taylor to just hit the ground running with this issue. I mean, it opens up with great action. The trio of, Grifter, Deathblow, and Flint, like I said, fighting vampires who have stowed onto the Authority's carrier, which we know is out in space, heading somewhere. And so we just have an awesome battle scene here at the beginning of them versus the vampires. Obviously, the crowning moment is when a vampire tries to bite Flint on the neck and breaks her teeth. Then Flint, gives tit for tat and bites the vampire on the neck.
Yeah.
And kills her, and it evaporates, and I thought that was pretty cool. And even Grifter and Deathblow are taken back by that. So, this is a trio, by the way, that I never thought I'd see,
Yeah, it's very eclectic.
And so, he's making it work big time. Like I said, he's picking up the threads from the last creative team, and he's just continuing the story, and they're dealing with this infestation, and some of the characters we've been seeing coming up, obviously Angie, the engineer, she is the carrier now, so she's trying to decide what to do about the vampires. Meanwhile, we get caught up with Rainmaker and Freefall, who come in basically helping the fray. And we see that Freefall has gotten pretty powerful.
Yes. I mentioned that, a couple episodes ago. I said, there's been huge setup over the last year with Roxy learning. And what does she do? She pancakes a dude. Just completely splatters him to the ground.
Well, what's funny about that scene is that, they're fighting off the minions, I guess you could say, and then there's the one she attacks. He looks like what you consider a boss,
Oh, yes.
And it's like, oh, this is going to be a new character. He's going to be the leader of the vampires. No, she kills him in the next panel by, just smashing, I'm sure the gravity field around him, and just smashes him into a pile of, goo, basically.
Yep, that's pretty much, I think, what happened, and that was awesome.
And it was it's kind of comedic, It's like...
Oh, yeah. There was so much comedy strewn throughout this. I'll let you continue, and then I'll say my piece, because, yeah.
No, that's fine. Did you chime in whatever you want? I mean, obviously, people can tell tonight which issues we really enjoyed and which ones we didn't. So.
Yeah.
And the engineer's reaction, obviously, since she's part of the ship now, and she's not necessarily all Angie anymore, she's mainly carrier. Her decision is to, well, let's just vent them all out the airlock, vampires, heroes, civilians, and all. Which is a very 2001: A Space Odyssey Hal type thing to do.
Yes, yeah.
And Huxmore threatens to go against her, and she basically tells him, you can't do anything, and he reminds her, yes, I can, and we get another glimpse of Jack's box, which we still don't know what's in it. And this issue doesn't tell us. And there's a really cool, just everything just starts coming together. That's why I'll tell you right off the bat, this is not a good jumping on point, because since they're picking up the threads from the other team, there's so many things here that I wouldn't even want to just drop you in the middle of, because not only would you be confused, but you wouldn't be able to appreciate what's going on here.
Probably true, but still pick up the issue. It's freaking awesome.
Oh yeah. This would be the equivalent of you flipping through the channels one afternoon, and you come in the middle of a big action scene in a movie, and you're like, oh, this is cool. You're not going to really know what's going on, but you could appreciate the action. But that's what I'm saying, because the next scene that I wanted to talk about was Synergy, Christine Trelane, running up to the High and basically telling him, look, we need you, stop feeling sorry for yourself. You're no good to us dead, because basically he's dying. he has no power anymore, and she's offering to use her power, which is to reactivate his, and so he finally agrees. I mean, that's an awesome continuation of his story, as we'll see in a minute, because Angie decides to vent the infestation. So we lose a bunch of vampires and civilians, and we almost lose Grifter and Deathblow, but Flint's able to hold on to them. And the second wave, that Roxy and Rainmaker are dealing with are starting to overwhelm them. Rainmaker gets knocked out, and then all of a sudden, I love scenes like this, the arrival of the High at the battle.
Yeah.
There's nothing like the arrival of a hero at the battle. I mean, there's something about that cavalry type scene. The cavalry has arrived, that's great. And with the High fully repowered and back and helping to fight, he grabs the carrier doors and literally just, pulls them back together to seal the breach. I mean, that's just awesome. I mean, obviously, I'm sure somewhere in the back of my mind it invokes images of Superman, but, but this is, this is one of Wildstorm Superman, obviously Majestic being the other. And here we come to the part which further proved that they were continuing the threads, because one of the strengths that I saw in the previous creative team that I'm seeing here right away is their use of sci-fi element.
Yeah.
Because back with DNA's arc, when they did the Authority, theirs was all about deconstructing the team and then putting them back together in a way that hopefully they learned something from that. This seems to be like, we're out in space. Let's take advantage of that. Let's put some high concept sci-fi things in here. And I mean, basically what Angie does is she makes the carrier transparent when they near a solar system with a sun. So guess what happens to the vampires when the carrier becomes transparent and the sunlight, shines through? I mean, that's an awesome, just awesome scene. And Mike Miller's art on that, showing the transparent carrier, and I mean, it's just incredible. And that concept to me was like, wow. I mean, I literally said that out loud when I'm reading the issue, because I love good sci-fi concepts, and that was just great. And I'll let you finish off talking about Grifter, Deathblow, and Flint.
Well, I can't even just jump to that point. I mean, just talking about this issue, like, I'm smiling from ear to ear. You can't see me right now, but this issue was ridiculous. I'm just going to get it out right away, because I know I crushed the Lost Year and I've been all over the map tonight, but to me, this issue was a 10.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I mean, I was reading it and just laughing. The art by Mike Miller, gorgeous. The writing, awesome. Chris Stryker from The Higher Authority, if you guys haven't checked it out, did an awesome interview with Tom Taylor about this issue. He gets the Wildstorm universe. He was super, super excited, you could tell in the interview, to write this. This issue was just amazing. I mean, the humor, the action, everything. The spreads, like the big shot of the carrier, everything. It was gorgeous. So the end here with Deathblow, Flint, and Grifter. I mean, there's been this sexual undertone in the last couple issues that they've been flirting with, and Flint just literally picks up Grifter and takes him. I mean, you know what they're going to do. And then there's even this little joke between Grifter and Deathblow as she's carrying him away about them possibly giving a high five, which they totally are doing behind her back. And it is priceless. I mean, the looks on their faces, like I said, Mike Miller just killed this issue. I even posted on the boards, Flint looks gorgeous. Every single person in this issue looks amazing. And even the death scenes of the vampires, everything, it's phenomenal. Like, I can't get over this issue. I haven't read anything so fun in a long time. They just jumped onto this and they nailed it. Every single piece. I can't say anything else. That's it.
Yeah. And I think last episode you talked about, you don't know what that magic 10 number is. You just described it. I mean, it's like you're smiling ear to ear, and just that excitement you feel, that's what and that's cool. I mean, I ended up giving it an 8, which now you're making me feel bad for doing that.
You're crazy. You are crazy.
But anyway, it's on its way to greatness, and you're just saying that it already is there, okay?
Whatever. It was excellent. It was at least a 9. Come on, just because the other books weren't that great.
Well, maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was the overarching thing just pulling me down. I don't know. But it was really good. I mean, and besides, my review's already on the site. I can't change it. So,
fair enough.
Oh, by the way, if y'all want to go check out Chris Stryker's interview with Tom Taylor, his website is theauthority.ws, and that's just it. That's all you got to type in, and that's the higher authority website.
Good plug, and it's a good read.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, you guys, you'll see how enthusiastic Tom Taylor. I mean, we thought Tim Seeley and them were enthusiastic about Wildcats. Yeah. I mean, he is quickly turning into that for the authority, which is great because, I mean, to have two teams that are that enthusiastic about what they're writing, I mean, what more can you ask for?
I know. And to see how excited he was to get this book and to see what those two did with the first issue, oh my gosh. The next month can't get here fast enough. I cannot wait to read this.
Yeah, and they're going to be on till the end of the year, by the way. So, yeah. So you got 8 issues of them. And
I got my fingers crossed. I am pumped.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm excited. All right. I'll move on to Sparta. All right, guys. Sparta USA, number 3 by David Lapham and Johnny Timmons. We are at the midpoint of this crazy creator-owned football, whatever it is. I don't know what to call it anymore. This issue really has our main character, Godfrey, who is red, by the way. I'll just remind you guys. Red guy, good guy. He explains to a group of the people that live in Sparta how pregnancy works. Odd in a comic book. Not sure we really needed that. And then we go into this story about him taking Johnny, who is the town's hero before Godfrey kicked the crap out of him. And he's taking Johnny into the woods to, I guess, test him. And he takes him into the woods. It's snowing out. It's cold. And drops him off and leaves him for the night. And, I mean, there's shots of the Yeti. So Johnny is not a happy person right now. He's probably crapping his pants, honestly. There's a little bit about, what the team is doing without him, because he is the team, basically. We do get a lot of background on Johnny and what his motivation is with hooking up with Godfrey. Because, like I said, he kicked the crap out of him. He basically destroyed his career. And Godfrey, I guess, sees him as somebody that can help his cause with Maestro. And he has promised to heal Johnny and get him back out on the field. But Johnny is kind of on the fence between Maestro and Godfrey. You see him as, he can go either way right now. And we don't know which way that's going to be. I guess I really saw this story as being all about Godfrey, but really he has a linchpin right now. And Johnny's going to be more important in the future. as you can read in this issue. We have Godfrey's harem of women that are living in his house and helping him with his cause. We see him and his wife dealing with that issue. I mean, I figured in the last issue when we saw her kind of at the end of the issue, and she, obviously you can tell she was the woman to just, kick the crap out of these women. Like, what are you thinking? But she doesn't do that. She kind of becomes their leader, which surprised the crap out of me. I mean, I thought she was going to, take charge of that and be like, no, you're not seeing anybody but me. And I didn't even expect her to kind of help out with Godfrey's cause as well. And I guess that she is. I don't know. There's odd family things going on here. I don't know what to say about this. This book is still strange to me.
You're not the only one.
I know, and I've read other reviews on it. I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, it is just weird.
I would really, I would really love to hand this off to my brother, because he loves David Lynch and, kind of that kind of weird film stuff. And I would love to get his take on it, because it seems that everybody I hear talks about those kind of films when they compare it to this, because you have to get in that weird mindset. Otherwise, you're not going to appreciate this book, because it's just going to blow you. The weirdness is just going to turn you off, which is what's in danger of doing for me, honestly.
Yeah. To be honest, I think it's tough to read as a monthly. I think when it trades, I think it'll actually be a pretty great story. But right now, it is a little tough to read.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gave this book a 5. I thought it was average. It started out for me. I was very excited to read this. The setup issue I thought was great. Issue number 2, I thought cliffhangered very well. And this issue it's starting to wane on me.
Yeah. No, I ended up giving it a 6, but that's still bringing it down from my other 2, because the same as you, I just, when you set up, it's like we were saying in Garrison. Yeah, Garrison had a mystery, and we'll see how long that goes. But here, not only do we have a mystery, but you're trying to get us to understand this world, which is, I mean, it's got some rules to it and things that we don't understand. And I think it's that struggle of, well, where do I put my focus on? Do I focus on the mystery? Do I focus on trying to figure out what's this world all about? Why do people not know about pregnancy? Why do they literally think the stork brings the babies? Yeah, I'm serious. It's like, okay, and apparently the thing is, their morals dictate that you can be married, but you can still have your harem of women. And I think, what is it? Your wife, she can't make a big deal, I know what it is. You can't be open about it. You have to keep it secret. And if you bring it out into the open, then that's inappropriate.
Yeah. So I guess there was a lot of undertones that we see, like not corruption, but we see, like you said, the weird morals that Maestro has established upon this society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it basically, the rules that they have in place just breed chaos. I mean, it's like, his wife's there, and I mean, they literally try to kill each other. Doesn't she tries to kill one of the women, or one of the women tries to kill her by poisoning her, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that goes on, and
yeah, and the other thing where, they help themselves out. So there's thievery between families and groups of people, but it's okay. And it's not like the town itself is chaotic. Like, people are totally chill. And I don't know if that's the reason why football is so huge, to get people to, ignore all that other really oddball behavior. I'm not sure. Like I said, it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure people are tired of us using that word for this book, but it's like, find me a synonym and I will use it because it still means the same thing.
It's strange, people.
But yeah, like you said, I think I mentioned this in like in issue 1 or 2, and like you just said, it is probably going to read better all in one sitting because it's month to month, and they're coming out on time, obviously. Well, just to mention a couple of issues that we didn't cover, there's 2 series that are ending, or that have ended now. Victorian Undead, number 6 of 6 came out. And I've heard some pretty good things about that, so I'll probably check that out in trade. And Astro City, The Dark Age, book 4, number 4 of 4, came out. So, unfortunately, I haven't followed Astro City, but I know it's a fan favorite. So,
I never have.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I've read the original trade, and it was really good, and I would love to get into it. But feel free, like Image Addiction's always asking for free issues. Feel free to send us free issues. We'll check it out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Be sure to visit our sponsors at Discount Comic Book Service. You can find that at dcbservice.com. For the latest issues, if you're looking for trades, head over to instocktrades.com. You can get there by going to our banner at the Comic Addiction website, which is thecomicaddiction.com. We don't have any trades to mention from Wildstorm the last couple weeks, but hit up our sponsors. That really helps us out.
We had a lot of issues to cover tonight, and hopefully our goal was to keep this under an hour, so we'll see if we accomplish that. I think we did. And so anyway, thanks again for listening, and we'll see y'all in a few weeks.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Wild Addiction Podcast. This is episode number 3 for the weeks of 4/28 and 5/5. Oh, let me do that again. 5/5. Oh, that sucks.
You changed the name of our podcast.
Yes, we did. Oh, okay.
Just take a deep breath.
Yeah, let me try that again.
Maybe I think we're restricting ourselves too much here.
No. I was just excited about the 8:30 thing. All right, let me try that again.
Okay.
Hello and welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Wild Addiction Podcast. Oh, why did I do that again? All right. 3rd time's the charm.
Like Hal's got control of my computer.
No.
Or even worse, Angie.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. Her excitement, like there was that moment when she was with Roxy, I think. And she looks at her and you can tell that Angie kind of takes over from the carrier's persona. Mm-hmm. And she looks at her and she's like, "We're coming up on a sun." And you could just see that expression. That's why I was like, man, Mark Miller nailed this whole issue. And she was totally, genuinely enthusiastic